Hey folks, it's Frithgar here, how you doing? Welcome back to Farmville. Kind of mix it up a little bit. I mean, yes, it is ultimately all just going to be silage, and we've got to figure out a way of stuffing it into our BGA as quickly and efficiently as possible. And that is possibly going to be a bit more of a challenge, but it's something that I can work on. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do once more around the field, I think. So we've got 3 turns around the outside edge, and then I'm going to let the hired help carry on. There's some little bits that we've left all the way around. I'm going to tidy those up on the 3rd time around, and then the hired help will be able to carry on. While the hired help is doing the middle work on the field, what we will be able to do is go and get a tractor and the turner that we've got, bring those back over here and start doing some work with them. So I can just like go around the outside edges of the field and tidy everything up. So this bit over here, what I'm going to do now is I'm not going to worry about doing this super accurate for realism. As in, I'm not going to bother picking up the machine off the ground, which you would do in real life, because otherwise you just leave a mess everywhere. I'm just going to basically turn around like that to get the bits on the edges before I set the hired help going, because it's just going to make it a little bit easier for later on. Alrighty then, I have done 3 times around the outside. I have tidied everything up as well. So what I'm hoping is if I line this one up down through here, something like that. If I press H, okay. It's quite a ways off of the direction that I was going to send it, but I'll leave it go and see what happens. So he's going to come out there and then whiz on down the field a little bit, and eventually he will get to a point where he's going to turn around, which is about here. Now what are you doing? How much grass is he going to leave behind doing these little bits of turning rounds? Feels like he's about to leave an awful lot behind. Yes. More than I would have liked. But it's alright, we can go along, we can tidy that up afterwards. So he's going to go up through there, and at least he is sort of going all the way across. Front one up. Back one is a little bit left. That was because I didn't have it lined up straight to start with, but that's fine. That's not going to make any big difference. And then he's going to turn around again and probably do something similar. At least he's not reversing all the way across the field and doing weird things like that, because we all know that the hired help is very, very capable of doing things that just make you sit there, flap your mouth open and closed a few times, because you just cannot believe that such a thing is even possible. You can't quite understand the logic behind doing something like that, and you're pretty certain that if an actual real life person were to do that while they were working for you, they wouldn't be working for you for very much longer after the said incident took place. But anyway, let's not worry about that at the moment. You are actually going to do a pretty good job, I think. So he's going to just lift up that front. All right, you know what? I'm going to let him go, and he's going to carry on doing what he's doing. We've got... No, I don't want that one. I don't want that one. I want this one today. Unhitch that trailer. I then need to go and get a hay turner, which is stuffed in here behind the baler. We will be doing the thing with the baler that we did last time, which was we put the trailer on the back and then auto load as we go around the field and just do the baling. I really liked that. It worked well. So that's definitely something that we'll do again. And we can do the same when we come to doing all our straw. Let's reverse you up here. And you can go there, and I can get that hay turner on. The only downside to this hay... Like, I really love the way the hay turner turns things in from the outside edges, but it's still a little bit small. I don't know if there are bigger hay turners that have that same option. In the comment section, please, if any of you know, are there other hay turners that allow you to turn the hay, to angle the turner? It's basically what this one's doing, although it doesn't drag along behind you at an angle like some previous versions of the game. I think there was a Crone one that I used to use that did that, and that actually angled it in. Are there any other turners that do this? There's two in this mod pack. There's this one, and then there's a smaller one. And they're really good. I really like them. But I'd like one that's a bit bigger. It would be really awesome if we could find one that's a little bit bigger than this. Because if you look... Let's unfold it. Like, it's big enough, but it's still... as far as hay turners go, it's not great, is it? So we turn it there. You can see now the wheels are turned. And that's going to be facing this way. That's going to be kicking it out of the field. So if I go there, now the wheels are facing the other way, and that's angled it so that it's kicking the crop into the field. But I've had a look through. I mean, I have, short of going through and buying each of these, because I don't think any of the base game ones have actually got any such options. This Crone one here... I don't know if this one has got that option. It's a bigger hay turner. It's wider. And it was a Crone one that had that thing on it before, when I previously had it. See, all of this stuff here, I've got no idea if it does. I don't really want to go and buy each one and test them, at least not in a series. I mean, I guess I could do it outside of a series, and we could sort of work through it, but it would just be a lot easier if someone could just tell me. It's this pack here that I've got that is the one that does it. See, we've got here one owned. But anyway, so if anybody does know of a hay turner that does this, that would be absolutely incredible if you could tell me. Because look at that. It's actually tossing that hay into the field rather than having it spread out of the field. He says. It does kind of... Well, it is doing it, trust me. It kind of looks like it's not here in places, but it really is. If you look down through there, it is actually chucking it slightly that way, away from the edge of the turner. And that's absolutely fantastic. That is what we want. We want it to be doing that, because when you're going around the outside edge of the field, the worst bit is how it chucks it into the hedge. And this is an issue in real life as well. Like, there's a couple of different things you can do. You can... go slower when you do the outside round, so that it doesn't chuck it out quite so much. But then you're kind of gambling with between that and like the hay not being able to dry out quite so much because you're not spreading it as wide. You can, depending on the type of turner that you've got, you can put a gate on it and kind of like keep it in, but that piles it up a little bit more. You can just accept the loss and have some of it chucked into the hedge. Some farmers will do that, especially if they've got cows, because they can just let the cows into the field after they've done the hay, and they will go along and they will pick out all of those bits, and so it's not exactly like it's going to waste. Another option that I've seen, I know a number of farmers do actually do, is they will go a few weeks beforehand, before they're ready to actually cut for hay, and they will go around the edge of the field twice with the mowers, and then row it up and bale it and turn that into silage, and then the bit that's left, like the rest of it, they'll come along a couple of weeks later and they will mow that and they will turn that into hay. So they're not right up against the hedge with the bit that they want to turn into hay. Now, a lot less people make hay these days. Usually they're making haylage, so they don't dry it out completely as hay. They only go about halfway, and then it gets turned into... let me just straighten that one out now that we're going into the middle of the field. It gets turned into silage instead, but like it's been dried out a lot first. it's more like haylage rather than silage. It's better if you do it like that with bales anyway. You don't want the material that you're putting into your bales to be too dry, because it does actually cause you some issues. Now, if you have a look at the edge on this side, on the left-hand side, if you have a look at the edge of the hay turner now, you'll see that the grass that we're chucking out behind us is going pretty much in the same spot that the grass that we're picking up in front of us was, whereas before it was sort of chucking it sideways a little bit, so it was moving the whole thing over. So it does work. I want to know if we have other hay turners that do this, because if we do, excellent. That would be amazing, because then we can go and use those, and we could hopefully have a wider spread, and it'll make this job just a little bit quicker, because I do want to upgrade this. We've got a lovely great big field here, and it would be really nice if we could just do this job just that little tiny bit quicker as we go through. I wasn't able to quite get every single little bit of grass down through here, which is why we're, although it doesn't really make any difference, because I've only got the I got part of that other run down through there, but that's not really going to make any difference to anything. There's one little tiny bit that I missed on the outside edge of the field down there, and I'm going to go and get that. And I'll do that by driving straight forwards over it, so it kicks it back in towards the field. At least that's the plan. All part of the master plan. Whether or not the master plan works is entirely a different matter. So we want to go that way, and then grab it like that, and yep, there we go. It chucked back into the field. That's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Now we'll come over here. So what I think I will do is I will hijack the mowers in just a second, and I will use them to clear up the little bits of grass that we have gone and missed over on that other side, and then the hired help can carry on with the hay turning, and the hired help can then resume the job of mowing over here. So let's just leave you there. That one will run all the way down here to the end. As soon as he gets to the end, that it'll go on a little bit further. And job done there. And then I will go round this way, and I'm going to start the whole thing up. I'm going to lower them both down as well. Didn't want to lower down then. There we go. Right. And there's nothing at this end. He's done a good job of keeping that clean, except for that little bit there on that corner. And then we'll run up through here, and I will start the last little bit on the other side of the bit of grass that's remaining, because I got a feeling the hired help is just going to stop partway through that and say, you know what, I can't see any field here, it's all finished, so I'm just going to pack up and go home. I don't really want it to do that, because it's just going to, you know, make me mad, and then I'm going to have to fire the hired help, and we have that whole shenanigans going on, and we don't really want to do that. He's done a really good job at this end of keeping everything neat and tidy. I'm impressed with that. Credit where it's due. And we want to go down here. So he's almost in line with here. It's basically there that I want to go. So if I set the hired help going, that should be in line with everything else. And when you've only got one of them going, he does seem to go slower for some reason. Quite sure why. But that's not actually a problem. So long as he does do the mowing, it's not going to be any kind of issue for us at all. We want to go to this one. And I can bring you over here onto this edge, and then the hired help can start there. We will then go and get our other machine, our rake, and we'll start working on that one. So you're just going to go like this. Hired help right there, doing exactly the same lines as the mower was doing previously. There, like that. And one thing that I do like, I don't think it used to do it in FS19. I don't think it was able to figure out the difference between what was hay and what was grass. And now it seems to be able to do it. So you just get to the edge. Like, I'm sure it used to just keep going right to the edge of the field and keep turning regardless of whether you had hay in front of you or grass in front of you. I might have imagined that, It might have just been because of an odd map that I was playing or something, but I'm sure I remember it doing something like that. Anyway, it definitely doesn't do it anymore. It does the whole job really nicely all on its lonesome, and that's something I like. I remember in FS13, maybe FS15 as well, when grass wasn't actually a crop. There was no crop of grass, and instead you had to do all grass work manually, and I never particularly liked that. I mean, I didn't mind doing the grass work. I've always liked doing grass work in the game because it's something that I've always particularly liked doing in real life anyway. But yeah, it was really nice when we had that change brought in and we were able to have the hired help starting to do some of these jobs, because it just makes life so much easier. So we're going to go over to this one, and we're going to get our huge, great, big rake hooked on, and we're going to take that over to the field. I may not necessarily be able to run the rake with this tractor, but at least we can get it over to the field, and then maybe we could just put it onto the bigger tractor over there. We'll see. We should be able to do it with this one. Like, running a rake is not that massive of a job. Like, yes, I know it's a very big rake for a small tractor, but I think that we should be able to do this just. It might not do it very easily, but I think all I want to do actually is once around the field with this one. If we can do once around the field, we'll then be able to go and do once around the field with the baler, and then the rest of the work can carry on afterwards. So we've only got one more strip to do with the mower, haven't we? I'll let that hay turner come up and turn round a bit before I start on this one, and then we'll maybe make a start over that side, and we'll see how it's going. Not really sure why we're racing up across the field like this. Only for the hired help to disappear and then smash into the fence. But anyway, the field has now been cut. So if we take this one over here and we fold it up as we go, this tractor can go back that way. We will go and get our baler and trailers with that one in a little bit. Let's just go back through to you. So this one, I took it to the end of the field. What I thought I'd do is if I just run along the bottom edge here, that means that we've definitely got enough area here to go and rake up. Well, see, I'd like to do 2 rounds on the field. Not sure if we're going to be able to do 2 rounds on the field with the little bit that we got here. If I can do the 2 rounds, then I've definitely got enough baled up and moved out of the way so that doing the rest of the rowing up is really, really easy. And there's room to turn around on the headlands, and also we've got like all the extra bales and everything out of the way. It just makes life a little bit easier. So let's bring you over here. Get that bit done there, and then I will run. You shouldn't really lift up if you're actually doing turning. You shouldn't lift up and travel along with it up in the air, because what you're doing is you're squashing the hay down onto the ground, and then the wind can't get underneath it, because 3/4 of the drying process is not just the temperature of the sun. It's not just the heat that dries it out, it's the wind. Or at least it is in the UK, because we don't have really hot temperatures. I know in places like in the southern US and southern parts of Europe as well, and, well, there's plenty of places in the world where it's literally just the temperature from the sun that does the drying out of the grass, and it just bakes it all nice and dry, and everything is all tickety-boo. We don't have that. We have a very humid environment anyway. I mean, we grow grass here in this country, especially in my part of this country. We grow grass, and large quantities of grass, because grass grows. It rains and rains and rains and rains. It doesn't get bitterly cold. It keeps raining. It does get some cold in the winter, but not like bitter, terrible cold. And it keeps raining, and then in the summer it keeps raining, and we also get sunshine. So it's perfect conditions for grass, and lots of grass. But in order to be able to dry it out, you can't just rely on the sun, because the temperature doesn't get high enough, and then the humidity doesn't help either. you need the wind. You need the air to be able to get around and through and underneath all of the grass. And that's what you're aiming for with the turning. It fluffs the grass up, sits it up on top of the stubble so the air can get right through it and the breeze gets through it. And if you've got a flat, calm, hay takes an awful lot longer to make. If you've got a decent breeze going, which you do most of the time, to be honest, through the summer, then the hay will make pretty quickly, actually. It doesn't actually take all that long. You can have it turned into hay in just like 2 or 3 days. Whereas if you don't have any wind at all, it can sometimes take 4 days for it to actually turn into hay, which, you know, if you leave it too long, it's getting more and more chance that the rain is going to turn up and actually rain on it, which you don't want, because rain on hay makes for bad hay. You can get away with it once, but if it rains on it and dries out and then rains on it again, like it gets to the point where the hay gets really, really bad, and you don't want that. These days, it's not so much of an issue, because if it's going to rain, you just bale it up in silage and wrap it instead of just having it as hay, but it can still be a problem. You may not necessarily be able to wrap it up into silage, but that is the main thing that farmers do these days, is they just turn it into silage. Like, you don't get hay being made anywhere near as much as you used to, but that's because we can make silage now. You didn't used to, many, many years ago, be able to easily make lots of silage. Like, you couldn't just bale it up and wrap them, whereas you can now. So things have progressed in the farming world. If you went back 100 years to the dawn of the first tractors, and when most of it was still being done with horses, you had to turn it in hay or you lost the lot, and then you needed a decent window. And in order to get it to dry as quickly as possible, you kept it all fluffed up. You didn't pull the horses and your horse-drawn machinery over the hay, squashing it all flat. You kept it running until you were on the edge of the field. You did the same with the small tractors. As you slowly got bigger with the tractors, you did the same. Now, like I say, it's less of an issue, but you still don't want to be driving on the hay if you can help it. So what we're going to do here is twice around the field, so that we've got 2 runs, and then we will get the baler, we will bale that up, and we'll pick up the bales with the trailer as well. And once we've done that, then the hired help can go back to doing this job, and we can sort of follow along with the baler and keep that going as well. It just makes it easier if you can pick up the outside rounds, because then you can have this bit going with the hired help. And I really do like the double wheels on his tractor. It does actually look really cool. I really do like that. Not sure if there were any other jobs we needed to do once we finished doing the hay. We've obviously got to get some fertilizer of some kind onto this field. We have got the slurry that we could use to do the job. I probably won't do that at the moment, because that would mean going and buying a slurry spreader, which I don't particularly want to do. Yes, we could do it, and yes, it absolutely would be a good thing, because it puts organic content into the soil. You increase the organic percentage of material that's in the soil, and that's a really good thing. It does actually help with everything. And also, there's a lot of evidence now to show that using artificial fertilizer gives you more of an imbalance in soil, and causes the bacterial makeup of the soil and the microorganisms living in the soil. Artificial fertilizers can throw those out of balance, and it's not quite so good. And I was reading recently that if you farm your land organically and then your land suffers from drought, it's much more likely to be able to survive the drought than if you're not farming, if you're using artificial fertilizers. And it's to do with the way that the soil structure works and the way that if you're doing it organically, it actually encourages the plants to put the roots down deeper, which means that in times of drought, they can get hold of the little bit of extra moisture that might be available right down deep in the soil that wouldn't be available to ones that are not that are rooted a lot more shallow. And I didn't actually realize it made that much of a difference. I genuinely didn't. I thought most of the organic farming thing was more about having just less chemicals going into your food and that. But it does actually seem to, from what I've been reading, make a difference to more than just the chemicals that you get in your food from the fertilizers and everything, which I thought was quite fascinating information. I'd not heard that before, so I was quite interested in reading all about that, because I rather like the idea. I mean, most of you probably figured out by now, I rather like organic farming. I don't actually worry about going out and buying organic food a lot of the time. Like, it's not something that I'm sort of really focused on with all aspects. I tend to just go and get whatever food I see, and if the organic stuff is not too highly priced above what I would have to pay for the standard, well, then I might go and buy it. But I'm really not that worried about it. The main reason I like the idea of organic farming and why I like to do it in the game, and also I try to sort of do that in real life as well, is purely because I love farming. I've grown up, I grew up on a farm. I've been involved in farming almost my entire life. Like, farming is just part of who I am. And one thing I also love is wildlife, nature. I like to see all of it. I like to see the little tiny insects crawling around in the undergrowth. I like to see every type of animal and creature. And organic farming just, to me, allows a better balance between the two. You still use the land to produce all the food that you want to produce and do all of those things, but if you're doing it organically, it allows all of the extra to stay there as well. And yes, I know it does present difficulties with weeds and diseases and stuff like that. It does actually make it more difficult to produce, which is why organic, anything that is labeled as organic can demand a premium for the food. But it really doesn't actually make a difference to me when I come to buy it. I know that might seem weird, maybe hypocritical even, but it is how it is. Right, I think I have to unfold the baler in order to make this work. So we're going to put that one on there like that, and then we will drag it off to the field like this. So yeah, I am very aware that sort of does seem a little bit hypocritical. Unfortunately, folks, that is all we have got time for today. A massive thank you to everybody who has earned their way into the Great Book of Names. To find out some more details about all the names coming past, please head into the description and click on the link to the Discord. It's a link to another video. The link is on the other video. Please also consider checking out the links there for Nitrado, who provide gaming servers for games like Farming Simulator, Minecraft, Ark, and several others. And there's also Fanatical, who will help support your gaming habit by providing you with cheap games and also giving me a small commission on anything that you buy using my link. If you've enjoyed this particular video, then please head down below and give us a like. And if you really enjoyed it, then please tell your friends all about me. Get them to come and watch as well. That would be awesome. And until next time, thank you very much for watching. This is Frithgar. Goodbye, and see you later.